this
Oh,
kid.
okay. There you go. There you go.
And we hit go live there and see what happens.
Cool.
So it was a fun time. This little lead in, we can be,
Just be ourselves.
just kind of enjoying the day. How was your
Well,
day? Did you have a good day?
it was a okay day. It really was, man. Oh, there we are. Ramping up for this doctorate run, man. It's going to be crazy, and I'm looking forward to it, but it's going to be daunting to say the least.
Well, but I mean, it's just the next challenge, next step in life. And like anything else, you're going to be great at it. So I
Oh, thanks,
think
man.
we're probably live at this point.
Yes,
So
we're
we're just
going.
going to kick
We're going.
things off. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Wednesday night with Evan and Aaron. This is the Evan and Aaron show. I'll get it right this week. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Evan, and you can probably see I got a different venue here, guys. Trying to avoid all the technical difficulties that and lie with me being in my Gollum closet. So yeah.
Well, hopefully we get through with minimal blips.
There you go.
Whole lot of stuff going on in the world right now, Evan. I think it's just makes sense to continue with what started this whole thing. Man, COVID just seems to be spiking everywhere, and just right away. I mean, not just cases. I know a lot of people want to push back and be like, "Well, we're testing more and all this stuff." Nah, you're looking at hospitalizations. Definitely, Florida is just getting smashed. And I just have so many thoughts on it, and because it all ties in together. We're seeing these spikes in places, and simultaneously we're talking about making kids go back to school in the fall. And I saw a really good post today, and it again ties in with the other things we want to talk about with sports. But I mean, every major sporting profession, baseball, basketball, soccer, they've come up with this idea to put their players in bubbles, and we've already seen entire teams having to drop out of the MLS's back tournament. We're seeing teams drop out. I think the WNBA coming back. There's lots of players who've tested positive in both basketball and baseball, and these are people getting tested on a regular basis. They're getting good medical attention, and we're seeing the problem that somebody who has the means to address the situation is still failing at. And now we're talking about, forcing people essentially to go back to school. Well, not necessarily forcing. People do have some choice. And this is a really tough one, because I understand that not everybody's in a situation to homeschool their kids. Some people have already had to go back to work and are already facing bad situations. And how you're going to keep masks on first graders and things like that. This is not something simple. I'm not trying to be flippant, but at the same time, when we're seeing these spikes, it seems so silly to me to maintain this level of let's just go on with life as usual when we're dealing with something that we still don't have a full grasp on. We're whittling it down bit by bit. But it is science to correct a previously held position when data presents itself. And as we learn more, yes, it's not as deadly for some people, but it's definitely deadly for other people. And again, like your example many weeks ago, you could be a perfectly fit 25-year-old marathoner and get this. And if it hits you in the wrong way, it could kill you. And we're definitely seeing now it's going to have central nervous and potential brain issues. This is, just because people have recovered doesn't mean they're past it. Doesn't mean that they're over it. The pandemic of 1918, Spanish flu, people lived with that stuff for the rest of their life. So it's just, it's crazy to me. And I know I was just all over the place there, but it's just, it's so wild to me that on the one hand, everybody seems to acknowledge, this is serious. And on the other, everybody's still bitching about masks. I don't get it, brother. I don't get it. What do you think?
I know, man. I know. First of all, let me just give a shout out. Dave's watching. TJ said he's supposed to play next week and very reluctant, but hard to resist also. We get it. Man, that's a tough call. It's a really tough call. My dad is watching, Aaron. My dad is
right
watching.
on. Shout out to Pops.
Crazy. Roger Cooper, hey, how you doing? Here's what here's where all of this just kind of hit home for me today. Being an educator, being someone who, invites students into the classroom, disseminates information, and, loves doing it. The first of all, the words out of our president's mouth today were the exact reason why he and his supporters were called deplorables. I'm sorry. You are literally saying that, well, children do better with this disease. Let's translate that into real talk here. You are willing to see how well they do with this disease by forcing school systems to bring children and students back to school in order to push a political agenda. Let's just call it for what it is. It's week 13, guys. The gloves are off. I tried, I'm Frank Underwood. I would rather have him right now. And so I'm just beside myself, Aaron, with the way COVID is blowing up in Nevada, in California, in Texas, in Florida. Now we're looking at a possible spike. Excuse me. Now we're looking at a possible spike in Michigan again. And so we look at all of this, and I still don't see the leadership we need federally.
Yeah.
As a federal government, the leadership is still not there, because it's almost like you have, the head chasing the ass and just going round and round in circles, because you have Pence saying, well, wear a mask, even though he didn't say that until about a week ago.
Right.
But, he's saying wear a mask and do this. And then you have, this summit, educational summit, where nobody on God's green earth on that panel were wearing masks.
Right.
Nobody was. And so I'm like, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. We got some early comments too, Aaron. Roger says, it's not as deadly for young people as powerfully cold comfort to the staff at these schools and their families and the families of these children. Leadership in this country has the ability, as with every other developed country on the face of this good earth, to provide for the needs of those who need to stay home, parents and children alike. They wake up each morning and choose not to. I agree with that 100%. There are things the government can do. Gia says, what? Talking about the sacrifice of teachers and staff? Don't get me started. So this is a nerve, my friend. It's a nerve.
And it's not something that we can avoid. We do have to educate our children, and not every school system, not every family is equipped to do e-learning. There's an awful lot to take into account here. I don't think, I just saw TJ's post pop up right there, and I think that's what I'm getting into. How do you gauge the risk of exposure versus the negative effect full-time e-learning can have on a child's mental and social health? Absolutely. I totally agree. These are things that need to be discussed, but it doesn't feel like we're having that conversation at the right levels that need to be. We've got a supposed leader in the White House who's just more concerned about getting things restarted and getting back to normal, as if just not talking about it will make it go away. Again, if we had fewer tests, we'd have fewer cases. It's just such an illogic that blows me away. And the nice thing is he really doesn't have that kind of control to say, I'm going to withhold funding if you choose not to reopen schools. So hopefully governors will be working with their secretaries of education for their states to really figure out what the best choice is. I work closely, or I'm sorry, I am close with someone who, their livelihood is looking after, school bus logistics and routing and things of that nature. And that's just a whole other, snowball can of worms of, okay, if we're going to do, every other day for certain kinds of students and certain age groups. I mean, what's that do for families that have, a kid who's 7 and a kid who's 14, and they're used to getting on the bus together? I mean, it presents a whole new level of issues. And I can't say I've got a great answer for it. But we seem to be a bull in a china shop trying to address some of these issues and not really giving it the amount of thought it requires, which again, I'm not surprised by. We're not being led by, the sharpest tax in the box here. But you'd think at least somebody would find it important enough to step in.
Right. We're allowing people, once again, and this is my thing. It's almost like allowing oh, what are those? Dang it, Aaron. I'm losing it, dude. I'm losing it.
Bigger than the bread box.
Lobbyists.
Okay.
That's it. It's like they're lobbyists because you have DeVos sitting there. She's not an educator. She's not. And you have people making these decisions without even considering and consulting what Dr. Birx actually said today. She said, look, those places need to go back to level 1.
Yeah.
In no scenario of level 1 is a school open. And there's no way you're going to be able to go from level 1 to level 4 in a matter of 3 to 4 weeks. You cannot do that. It is not possible with this virus. And we also forget, and Nick, I know you're watching, but maybe you can confirm for us, this thing is mutated. It's mutated somewhat. It is now a kind of a different strain to where they're saying, look, the antibodies aren't sticking around as long as they would have if this thing hasn't changed, if it's changed. And so there's so much we don't know about this. Yet those decisions are being made not based on medical fact or science. And they have never been. It's almost like part these guys out and just say some smart stuff, but we're going to come right behind you and basically just counteract what you say.
A consistent talking point, that we return to and that we encounter in the world is this, this anti-intellectualism, this misunderstanding of how science operates. And, this notion of, well, they told us this one thing and now they're telling us this. That's how it's supposed to work. And I get, to the layperson, it can seem a little bit frustrating, but I find it hard to believe that if on day 1 in, January or whenever, Fauci would have said, put on masks now, people wouldn't have done it anyway, because it was called a hoax at the time too. So, we've undermined the experts, and, Fauci's not infallible. I'm sure his memoirs will point to plenty of mistakes that he looks back, things that he wishes he would have done different during the HIV epidemic and during other outbreaks that he's had to deal with, because it's all about being informed.
Right.
And, I think that segues nicely into sort of what's going on culturally. The more people find out about what really goes on in the world around them, how can you possibly respond appropriately for yourself? How can you possibly do right by yourself if you're basing your decisions on information with less than? And I know so many people now who, we've talked about this several times, things like the Tulsa massacre, or just different parts of our history that weren't really taught, were hidden a little bit, and you've got to dig in to find. And it doesn't undermine my love for America. America has always been an imperfect experiment, but I want the facts. I want the information behind things, and I'll continue to correct my opinions and behaviors so long as I continue getting more and better information. And that's, to tie it all together, that's how a society should work. That's definitely how science tries to work, which again, it's not infallible either. It can be subject to outside money and influence. Sure, the WHO may have some flaws about it, but man, withdrawing your support for the one organization worldwide responsible for trying to tie all this stuff together in the middle of a global pandemic that is devastating your country worse than just about anybody else on the planet seems short-sighted at best.
Absolutely. We got some more comments here before we go into our halftime. Gia, which I absolutely love Gia and Roger. They're awesome. They are as fiery as we are, my friend. And
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
glad to have
all of
them.
us need to get together.
Shout out. Yeah.
Need to get together and get some beers when we can. Gia says, and that's the root to the flaws in the education system that existed before COVID, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody in leadership gave a damn. Once COVID struck, they had 4 to 5 months to contain it, but they let the cowards crying for haircuts matter more than students and staff. This is bullshit, and that's what she's saying.
Yeah.
Roger says those risks are 100% on the shoulders of failed leadership. Amen, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Goes on to say, now it falls to us, parents and educators, to make the hard decisions. The plain fact is we didn't have to come to this. EU countries are now able to reopen schools and relatively safe, being relatively safe, because they didn't fail early on. That is absolutely right. Absolutely right. It's that time. And if you're watching with us, guys, we love having you. But you know that you have to come prepared to the Evan and Aaron show. You know you have to come prepared, and now's the time. Now's the time, Aaron.
Now's the time. Real quick, I want to touch on something before we move on to something else. Just real quick.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
No.
That's fine.
No, keep that glass up. It'll be quick.
Okay.
A lot of people responded to some of that with, well, you're supposed to be self-sufficient, and if you're looking for other people to take care of you and looking for the government to do things for you, I appreciate that on an absolutely micro level, but you can't just self-sufficient your local school system being ready to deal with hundreds or thousands of students showing up. You can't just self-sufficient your way to appropriately maintain social distancing as a group in the fucking Costco. You have to acknowledge that we've chosen to live in a society. And for all the people who are like, well, if you don't love it, get out of here. Hey, it sounds like you're the ones who aren't super thrilled about the fact that there are social codes that you're supposed to abide by. And if you don't, you don't get kicked out, but you're an asshole. If you're yelling at grandmas in Costco asking you to put your mask on, you're a dick. And I'm sorry, it's not really that difficult. I know name calling is supposed to be below us, but no, if your behavior warrants it,
please, come on.
If it adequately describes the behavior you're exhibiting, then it's who you are. I'm sorry, you just need to deal with it. And
that's right.
I'm sick of that response from people. I'm sick of this, well, stop looking for other people. No, it's a society. We're all doing this together.
It goes back to that saying that I love. It's like everybody, that is that same mentality of, hey, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Well, what happens if you don't have fucking boots? If you don't have any boots to pull yourself up by, then what are you supposed to do? So, man, I'm with you. I'm with you, man. That's why we're going to take this shot. It's halftime.
It's halftime. For the record, an MLS game is kicking off for the first time in months tonight.
There you go.
Good luck to MLS. I hope it goes well. I know some teams haven't been able to do. Real quick, shout out to TJ. Man, I'm in the same boat with you. We're probably taking off the next session, but we're going to have some pickup games or pickup sessions to get together. So TJ and any other soccer pals out there, if you want to get together, hit me up. We're going to have some runabouts and hopefully be ready to go come September.
Very good.
I miss playing sports and kicking a soccer ball. So sports ball to everybody.
Sports ball.
Evan Underwood ball. 2020. Cheers.
Yes.
Sláinte.
Hi. Sláinte.
I don't know if Sláinte is appropriate for Jägermeister.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I got you,
a little warm.
You. But I got you because I just had good old JMO. Oh, all
right.
That's awesome.
Right.
Are we going down south to Bloomington?
I think it's kind of unavoidable. And I will say this. I've not personally watched all the videos. I've watched portions of it. It's very haphazard. It's very hard to tell what's actually going on. I hate to say it. Part of me feels like there's a little Jussie Smollett maybe going on here.
I hear you.
That said, it takes me back to how I felt when I first saw the Drajon Reed video of, I don't know what exactly is going on here. And if it's one thing, I feel one way. And if it's another, I obviously feel another way. If if I am to take this video at face value, it's absolutely a hate crime and potentially an attempted murder. If there's actually a noose nearby, if somebody had one and they thought we're going to hang a dude today, then yes, it's attempted murder. It's a hate crime. It's an attempted lynching. If it's an activist who was trying to make a name for himself, I'm going to be pretty disappointed because it absolutely harms a legitimate social movement that we got going on. And I have no reason to believe any other way.
Yeah.
It's just the whole thing's strange. It's strange that DNR didn't act immediately. It's still strange that it's Wednesday and this occurred on Sunday and there's still been no arrests or charges. And Bloomington is a fairly progressive town, all things considered. I don't know. I don't know what to think other than what I saw looked disgusting to me. And it's one of those things, I don't want it to be real. I don't want someone to have endured this. But if they did, it was a horrifying event. And I don't know how many people were actually there because obviously other people kind of come up. But my first takeaway was, why isn't someone jumping in to help this man? Like if you and I are walking in the woods, Evan, I need you to know that if 3 dudes show up and they're all bigger than me and they grab you and start walking you toward a tree, I'm going down slugging, man. I might lose.
Well,
we might lose that one bad.
We might lose.
But it won't be for lack of trying. I'll keep the video going for as long as I can, but I'll hand the phone off. I'm just saying, I don't know. I got so many feels about this whole video, man. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, in that scenario, I hope I can, hold out long enough because I'm trying to become, Mark Simmons. And, just.
Or we just bring Mark Simmons with us.
We just bring Simmons with us. Here's the thing. Gia asked the question, what information came out that created a different narrative? To my knowledge, nothing so far. But just looking at it big picture, okay, looking and seeing the same thing you saw, Aaron, the video and everything. It's a different feel for me. It's a different feel. And here's why, is that you have a lot of identifiers there on the, the perpetrators. You've got a guy that is pinned up against a tree by this very, very large dude and several other guys holding him. Here's the thing. I don't think anything about this. And I know what you're saying, and I absolutely know what you're saying, but I don't think there's any possible scenario that if this happens, there is no scenario in which the things that were done and the things that were said would come out like this. If you remember, with the whole Jussie Smollett thing, it was a very fuzzy, weird kind of filmed type piece.
Yeah.
Okay. This was not fuzzy. This was very real and very graphic. And the fact is that, you hear, number one, you hear a female voice. I know that a lot of kick-ass women, so please don't take this as a sexist remark, ladies, but if there are 4 or 5 menacing, like, big beer gut white guys, I'm going to be like, hey, I don't know what I could do, even just by myself, as somebody that is 6 foot and 185. I don't know. And so I don't fault her for not putting it down. I'm not saying that, that should or shouldn't have happened, but that's a very intimidating situation. And the fact is that you see that
people gathered around too. A crowd showed up, and like I said, I've selectively watched the videos, so I am speaking out of a certain amount of ignorance, and it's just so sick of watching.
But
black people getting
right.
it just beats me up, but I need to suck it up and do it. And I saw Roger and Gia's. There's nothing that has come out, as far as I know,
Right.
that necessarily changes the narrative. I'm simply saying
Dang it, Gia, you beat me to it.
Something feels really, really odd about this video. The woman who keeps coming back and pretending to be nice, and then she's just a part of it too. I don't know who is who in this video. I don't know who knows who. I don't know why anybody is behaving the way they are, but it the whole thing is confusing.
Yes. So Gia beat me to this point, and this is the point I was going to make, is that let's, once again, big picture. Let's look at the big picture of this thing. You're right. There has been damage done as a result of the Jussie Smollett thing, and things like that. But you know as well as I do, my friend, that as soon as this came out, that's immediately where people went.
Yeah.
And so now we're looking at a narrative that is skewed from the very beginning. We're looking at people who are taking, what has happened to this young man, and immediately, not even like saying, damn, that's some terrible shit that just happened right there. They're immediately saying, he's lying. I saw so many terrible comments on WTHR. And listen, if anybody out there knows anyone at WTHR, please talk to them. Say, look, you guys need to regulate some of this, because you are allowing hate speech to be disseminated through your page. I don't know if you're okay with that, but I get the whole free speech thing, but I'm just throwing that out there.
I don't know how much they can do on a live feed.
Turn them off. I mean, just
turn off comments.
Turn off comments. Just turn them off, because they're idiots.
But then you're going to get the pushback of, you're silencing people's voices as a news organization. I'm just saying, I'm playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, right. They're not reporters. So if you want to talk about it, share it on your page and then talk. I know what you're saying, Aaron, but I'm just,
right.
I rail against this because it gets on my last damn nerve.
Well,
is that nobody is believing, and I'm not saying nobody, but the fact is a lot of people jumped to that very conclusion.
And I want to say this, something that we've been talking about and I've been reading about, again, shout out to Ibram Bendi's fantastic How to Be an Anti-Racist. Yep. I may be working through an unintentional bias right now, because I want to believe this man. It's what I see on that video horrifies me. And I don't wish that on anybody.
Yep.
But for some reason, when I watch this, when I read the story, there are holes for me. And I'm not going to take an adamant, impassioned position on something unless I feel like I'm fully informed on the issue. That doesn't mean I'm dismissing it. Doesn't mean I'm not saying it doesn't have value. It absolutely has value. But I was on a path to be a lawyer at one point. So there's a very analytical, provide me all the details I possibly can in order for me to make a decision. And if I don't have enough data, much like the science aspect, I think lawyers and scientists, as much as they'll hate that comparison, both of them.
No, I get it.
You want as much information as possible. Right now, all I have is this video and that man's word. And I want to take him at face value.
Sure.
But I also recognize the world that we live in right now. And so I hope I don't want it to have happened to him, but I hope he is telling the truth. That's all I'm saying. I'm absolutely admitting I've got a blind spot here. I'm just trying to sort it out. I'm trying to work it out. We're all at different stages.
This is why there are a couple of reasons. This is why I love you, is because we're able to have these discussions and we're able to talk this through. And I want to throw an example out there. When the whole Jussie Smollett thing happened, right? It's like people are like, oh my goodness, I see, this black man lying about someone, doing that. So that sticks in people's minds. I get it. I totally get it. go back with me to the Central Park Five. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back there. And we see 5 young people who were convicted and incarcerated without the due justice that they deserved, stayed in jail innocently until they were let go. And my thing is, and people wonder why a lot of Black people don't trust the system. I don't know how many times I've heard people say, hey, just let the system do its thing, let the system do it, and things like that. And it's like, you know what? It's hard to let the system do it whenever the system has been doing it to you your entire life. And what gets me is that, yes, we have one example, and I'm sure there were others. There were probably others, but we have one example recently, of a Black man fabricating a story. When every single day we could probably pull out, I don't know how many hundred police records that show fabrication of
Yeah.
what was on a Black man, or what was in a Black woman's car, or what was here and here and here. And it goes unnoticed until now. But what I find interesting is that one incident now has, and I know what you're saying, brother, and I'm not, this is coming from love, but it's that one incident that now I believe has people thinking and saying, oh, wait a minute, this looks weird, so I go back to that.
No, you've made a great point, because I frequent the root.com, and man, they make a living out of chronicling the Karens of the world, checking people of color on a regular basis. And you're absolutely right. The fact that Jussie Smollett attempted to manufacture an incident for whatever reason, I'm not sure really what he thought was going to be the outcome of that. But the fact that now all of a sudden is the one thing that is the trump card, no pun intended, to sort of undermine these incidents. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's a double standard, and
it's tough. It's tough, man.
I want to be better than that. That's all I'll say. That's
Aaron.
It's an excellent point, and I can't change the fact that it made me feel that way, but hopefully,
sure,
this is another thing that I can learn from. And I mean, I watched that video, and I want those guys to be punished. Honestly, I wish there's a part of me that wishes it was
that you were there.
Me, you and Simmons, and I'm like, let's fucking sort out these deliverance boys.
Roger could roll with this too. Roger,
I'm down.
No,
I don't know.
Listen,
it
the 4 of us would just sit back, and Gia would be the one. She would be the one.
It sounds like it. I think she's gonna take no shit from anybody. I don't know. I just it's crazy to me that it's 2020 and we're having this discussion. It blows me away, when people deny systemic racism. And I can point to you that up until, like 20 years ago, there were still obvious, codified, you can't be Black and buy property in this area kind of thing. Or even let's expand it, because it's just Pride Month, that you could be openly discriminated against. You couldn't get married in some places until 2015. And until recently, you could still be discriminated against in the workplace for being gay. You could be fired simply for being gay or trans. And we're talking about these trans issues. We're not that far removed from all this stuff. So
hey, I want to give a quick shout out to our LGBTQ plus community. The amount of support, respect, just class that community showed during the course of it, which I think is still asinine, that we only get a month to celebrate such richness in the community. But during the entire month of June, the celebratory spirit that the LGBTQ plus community had in supporting Black Lives Matter, you guys listen, there's nothing but love coming from us, Aaron and I, and you guys. If there is a group that can understand, marginalization, it's that group. And so we thank you, and we love you, and you guys are absolutely awesome. Dang, I'm not even watching Hamilton, and I'm getting a little emotional.
I still haven't watched it.
Man, oh goodness. I think the big thing,
we're planning on it, but I still
there you
haven't
go.
watched it.
I think the big thing for me, Aaron, in this discussion tonight, man, is it drives home. Once again, it drives home that this conversation cannot end. It has started, right. and this is not a fad. This is not a summer 2020 thing. Everybody that watches us, everybody that's involved, in book clubs, and there's one in particular that that is just an awesome book club, Wild the Axe. The work you guys are doing, the studying you're doing, and I'm specifically talking to white people. I'm talking to my white friends. The work that you guys are putting in, and Aaron, the vulnerability that you show on a daily basis, brother, is not going unnoticed. I know you're an ally. I know you're someone that I can trust. And that's the thing, guys, is that in having these conversations, the last thing, not last thing, but one of the what you want to do is, hey, let me ask my Black friend about this. No. No, this is the time for white allies to shine, in my opinion, where you guys take upon yourself the mantle of education, and you take that burden off of the Black community, and you say, you know what? No, you guys, listen, it's our responsibility to educate ourselves. And what that does is it lifts a weight off of the Black community, man. It's amazing to see happen. It really is.
And it raises the maturity in the dictionary definition of the word, of the conversation that you then can go have. Mm-hmm. The book club you speak of, I'm not necessarily a member of, but I'm reading the book, and obviously I'm having a conversation with somebody who's in that book club on a regular basis, and we remind each other, we have these conversations daily. Mm-hmm. And look, not everybody out there has to become a social justice warrior overnight.
Yeah, they do. No, like right now.
I think the reality is that once you begin asking yourself some questions and some truths get revealed, there's a certain desire to become that person. And everybody comes at, but it's not necessary for everybody to suddenly be like, I'm going to get out there and march, but it is necessary for everybody to ask themselves the questions and be honest with themselves when they give that answer. Because you're sitting alone in a room, and you may pause a TV show we've told you to watch, or you're reading a book that we've recommended, or you're thinking about something that you heard during this show, and be honest with yourself and say, how does this make me feel? Am I uncomfortable by my own response to this question? And if I'm uncomfortable, why? And what can I do next to not alleviate that discomfort? Because it's important to understand that discomfort, but how do I educate myself as to the whys of that discomfort? And I don't want to answer that question to myself like that anymore. So what can I do? What actions can I take? What beliefs can I begin to chip away at a little bit in order to honor, if you're going to stand up and say, this is my Black friend, or this is my Hispanic friend, or whatever. Well, if they are, then when somebody comes to you and says, I experienced this and it was traumatic and it's harmful, and I think society's set up in a certain way, if you believe them, if you call a person your friend, you'll at least give that some thought and you'll start asking those questions, and you'll start chipping away at the unintended, unknown biases that all of us possess.
Mm-hmm.
All of us possess. All of us
Yes.
who exist have some biases that we didn't cultivate ourselves. We've been taught certain things. We've had certain things blinded to us.
Yep.
And we have to work at that. You have to want to. And it's, I think this is almost an Eastern philosophy that needs to be embraced a little bit more by Western people. Eastern philosophy is very much about continuing to ask those questions and sit down and meditate and spend time with your thought. Be mindful. This whole mindfulness kind of thing, and I'm really working toward that. That's a new thing for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little foreign to the Western mindset, but
sure.
I think anybody who spends any time, just a little bit of time doing it, the weight that gets lifted off to you when you pull back the curtains, you get a little bit more information. You think, well, wait a second, I don't believe that. I don't feel that way. I want to be this person, but this is some information I didn't know. And there's so much work to be done, and it's fun. Honestly, it's not to be flippant, not to make light of it, but it's really enjoyable to pull back the curtains and have a little bit of sunshine enlightenment come in and be like, well, okay.
Yeah.
I feel this is amazing. This is an amazing thing. I don't know. I appreciate you so much, man.
Yeah, man. I gotta say this, and then I think one of the things that we need to do in looking at America and looking at our country, we have to realize a couple things. Number one, we got to realize that our system is not broken. It's doing exactly what it was meant to do.
Yeah,
it is. There's no such thing as a broken system. There isn't, because if it's a system, that means it's working. For example, take a car. If I take a carburetor out of a car, does it run? Doesn't run. If I take the engine out of a car, does it run? Doesn't run. If I take a tire off a car, does it run? Yeah, it can, but it'll get jacked up really quick, you know? So all of those things together form a system. It doesn't matter if that system is a, piece of crap, gremlin, or it's a Tesla. If everything is together, it's going to run. What has happened in America is that system, that efficient system of systemic racism, has been interwoven with everything that we have. And we cannot make the mistake of saying that if we take care of this one thing, it's going to fix everything. If you replace the windshield wipers on a piece of crap beater car that doesn't run, it still is not going to run.
Right.
We have to take a look at this thing collectively, and we have to make changes throughout the entire system that is working. So that means looking at everything. And I know this is, and I want to send this out not just to you, Aaron, but also to my friends who are doing this hard work. This is daunting. This is, I was talking to the leader of the said book club, and she told me that there was so many people that were saying, man, this is heavy, this is really heavy, and yet they're still there, they're still putting in the work, and they're still doing their time getting this thing done. And so I just want to encourage you, but I also want to remind you that this has only been 2 months.
Yeah.
2 months. You can do this. Trust me, you can do this. For someone who has had to do this, now granted, my younger years, I like, watched Fat Albert and drank Kool-Aid and was running outside and playing basketball and riding my big wheel. But for at least 30 years, being aware of this system that I am in, that is designed specifically to not allow me to have the same advantages that most of my friends have. Realizing that, and having you guys kind of be in that situation for these past 2 months, not in the same situation, but in a situation where you have to do the heavy lifting now. You can do this.
Yeah.
And you're doing it. Quite frankly, you're doing it. If you are one of my friends, if you're one of my white allies, you know that you are, because I still talk to you on Facebook, because I don't have any time. Nobody got time for that. Nobody has time right now for people who are just like, yeah, I don't know about this thing. Okay, well, go off in a corner and figure it out. And when you figure it out and you want to talk, okay, fine. Yeah. But we need people who are engaged. And Aaron, you are engaged, as well as everybody that's just watching this. And that leads me to my favorite part of our show. Hey, Aaron. Excellent. All right. So this, hey, Aaron, I'm going to test your, how shall I put this? Your beer taste, my friend. Ooh, your beer taste.
All right, let's do it.
I am going to name certain people, certain famous people, and you're going to say what beer you would have a beer with them with. Is that right?
So let me understand. So you're going to name a person, yes. And what type of beer do you think I would drink with them if we were together?
Yes. Okay. That's it. Thank you so much.
Right.
I may have started before the show, but that's okay. I'm okay. Anyway, here we go. All right. Well, let me pull up my list here. All right. So number one, man, Barry White.
I was gonna hang out with Barry White. What kind of beer would we drink?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Yes. And Barry White, my friend, Barry White.
Gosh.
And if you guys are watching, you can put, you know what? I'm going to make it easier on you, Aaron, because that's kind of tough. Beer or drink. Beer or drink.
I was going to say, I mean, I feel like Barry White and I, if we're hanging out, I feel like we're hanging out as dudes.
Yeah.
Chilling.
Okay.
And he and I mean, look, he's old soul.
He is,
so
man.
I feel like my answer is going to be misconstrued, but I feel like if I'm hanging out with Barry White, we're having like a Henny and Coke or some shit like that.
Yes. Yes.
I mean,
my man.
Is that?
I like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just
VSOP.
That's where I was going.
VSOP.
I was right there with you, man. Right there with you. Okay. Next. Okay. In the same line, but somewhat different. Marvin Gaye.
Marvin Gaye. Oh man, you know what? I feel like Marvin Gaye. I feel like we would just. He strikes me as we would just have a cool, crisp beer. I do see that. I could see that he'd just be like, we're just gonna sit here and have a cool, crisp beer. Probably just whatever lager is on tap, whatever was local. Because he just, yep. I think he'd be more like, get you drink and we're gonna have a chat, young man.
Gia just said whiskey and a joint. There you go.
Marvin Gaye?
Marvin Gaye, whiskey and a joint. Okay.
I guess I mean, I'm not opposed. I guess I don't know my Marvin Gaye as well as I thought I did.
I'm going to need you to be specific on this next one. Okay.
All right.
Be specific. Sam Elliott.
Oh, Sam Elliott? Shit. Yep. I'm going to say we're having a Lone Star and a shot of whiskey.
Yes.
We're having a Lone Star beer and a shot of bourbon. Because I don't know if he's from Texas, but he strikes me as he's from Texas. So we're drinking some Lone Star and a shot of whiskey. Man, that just straight up. That you can't get more just Americana cowboy than that dude. He's grizzled as fuck.
There you go. Daniel Craig in character, in James Bond character. Daniel Craig.
Well, because he's one of the coolest, we're definitely having that Vesper martini that he made up on the spot.
Okay.
That he described.
Okay. All right.
I mean, honestly, it's Daniel Craig. Dude can order whatever the fuck he wants. I mean, that's.
There you go. All right. A couple more.
All right.
I had to throw this one in there for you know who. Idris Elba.
Ooh.
Idris Elba.
Hmm.
Who some people say I look like his trashy older brother. So, I'm just saying.
Cousin Idris. Oh, wow. He's English, so he's definitely going to favor a pint. I bet we're going to go a little classy. I'm going to say that he's going to want. I don't know if he's from London or not, but I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt with his accent and say that he maybe is. So we're gonna do shout out Nick McDonald. We're gonna do a London Pride and probably a JMO Chaser.
Ooh, very nice.
I think
Very
Idris.
nice.
I think Idris gets after it. Idris is a good DJ. I don't know if you knew that. Idris is a
yes,
DJ.
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yep.
And I think he likes a good time out. So yeah, I'm gonna say a nice British bitter and a shot.
Very good. Amy said Daniel Craig drinks Mick Ultra. And Gia says for Daniel Craig a nasty martini. That's really good. Okay, so now let's talk about the ladies.
All right.
And let's start with Michelle Obama.
Michelle Obama. Oof. I think Michelle Obama probably will start with a really, really excellent glass of red wine. And then if we're hanging out for a while, I think Michelle going to wild out a little bit, and we might end up on the Henny with her as well. I could see it.
I agree.
I can see it. I don't know if I'm getting invited to the picnic, but I know what needs to be on the list. I'm just saying. Look, I know you don't bring bland potato salad.
No raisins.
And I know that the brown liquor is in the trunk. The brown liquor is in the trunk of somebody's car, and it comes out later. So
there it is. Here's the thing. Gia said an old fashioned, which I'm like, oh, that's smart. That's smart.
For Michelle?
Because for Michelle Obama.
Okay, I can see that. I can see that.
Because I can see that with the with the little bitters and stuff. But anyway, this one's going to blow your mind. This could go anywhere. Anywhere. Stevie Nicks.
Well, if you know your stories, we're probably gonna down a bottle of vodka right away, and then I'm gonna blow cocaine up her asshole for the rest of the night.
And on that note, my friends, wow.
I mean, it's gonna be a good time. You weren't expecting that one, were you?
No.
Evan does not know the roadie stories about Fleetwood Mac.
Can you tell the redness that is in wow. Oh my God.
The freckles are coming out.
Oh, jeez. I don't know what to do. Yeah. Everybody's laughing. They're dying. Oh my God. Oh, I ask this?
And this is what we do for all of you. This is what we do for all of you out there. We put our ass out. So there you have it.
Okay, there's one more. One more, my friend. All right. So
you certainly can't leave the show on blowing cocaine up.
No, you know what? No. I've got to. There's no reason. There's no other reason. I can't ask this one.
No,
this
go.
One
you have
is
to.
Going to be anticlimactic.
Too late. You've made it a deal.
RGB herself, Ruth Bader.
Oh, Ruth Bader Ginsburg wants a nice crispy Chardonnay on a warm evening overlooking the Washington Monument. I mean, you're gonna sit on the steps with a nice crisp glass of Chardonnay, and she's going to tell you that you better get your shit in order.
And then shoot heroin. There you go. So no, I'm just kidding. I'm trying to elevate it to the last story. I'm trying to elevate it to the last story.
You kids don't know smack.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. There's our Ask Aaron segment that ends our show. Aaron, I love you, man. I
Love you
really
back,
do.
brother.
Guys, thank you so much for commenting tonight. We've had a ball.
Always.
As always. So, guys, listen, thank you so much. Aaron, I'm gonna let you take us out, brother.
Alrighty. Everybody out there, we'd love you. Stay safe. This is my class of 92 glass. So shout out to everybody who's at least around my age. -1, +1. +1.
91. I'm -1.
But also,
so.
for everybody out there, this is a fun little aside. Evan and I played against each other while we were in college. No, I won't go into the details. It just we are around the same age, and we played college soccer against each other. And it's funny, we didn't know that until like a year ago. It's an absolutely fun thing to find out about each other. And I mean, it's small Division III soccer. It's no big deal. But it's just kind of one of those small world kind of things. So anyway,
with a large ass whooping. That was let's just put it that way. Small schools, large ass whooping that we took, and I'm glad to admit that. So, brother,
hey,
take care, man.
Another fun show with you. We need to get together and social distance appropriately. If you'd like to join us, hit us up. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe, follow us. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. So there's so many ways to catch up with us. We love interacting. Thank you all so much for posting and sending some comments and interacting with us. And as always, send us some topics for the next shows. Anything you want to talk about. I know the news changes like every 2.5 minutes nowadays. But if it catches your fancy and it's something you want to talk about, shoot it out there. So as ever, we love you. Evan, I love you. And everybody take care.
Hey, Gia and Roger said red beans and rice Mondays, and Roger will cook, and they have a porch with some brews. Said let's get it done. So I'm like, hey, I'm in. I mean, and also, I think we should do this too, Aaron. If you guys want to ask questions afterwards or anything like that, we'll probably at some point jump on House Party.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
All right, man.
So, see you guys.
Take care, everybody. Love you.
Yep. Bye.